Well, indeed, thank you for staying with us here on KTN News. My name is Peter Akaba. Now, in this second part of the show, we want to talk about matters financial technology commodities, of course, where your economy is going now. Dr. Edward George is Ecobank Group Research and UK representative on the East Africa Trade Outlook, Commodities, Trade and FinTech. He is in the region really to help, well, the bank's clients be able to work better in terms of financial technology and putting themselves out in the market with all the big deals, all the major developments that have been happening in this region as Kenya continues to emerge as, well, as a market. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, and now first off, simply to take stock of what you've been doing in the region. Of course, Kenya is a hub for many, many different aspects of global finance and trade for not just Africa, but part of the ocean island areas. So what exactly is it that you're doing in Nairobi?
Well, I'm in Nairobi for the GTR conference tomorrow. That is about trade and trade finance in East Africa. I'm going to be giving an outlook looking at trade and fintech, and also taking one of the fintech panels and hopefully profiling some of the great fintechs here from Kenya. For example, Mchanga or Brick. But also I'm here to try and find out what's going on in terms of digitization. Yes. Ecobank is one of many banks which is embarked on this digital strategy. And I hope while I'm here in Nairobi as well to see how the bank is going about bringing in a lot of the traders, the SMEs, the informal traders into the digital system.
Well, one of the key things about Ecobank is that because Africa trade officially remains such a little percentage of the global aspect of trade and finance, that its presence in 33 markets across Africa means that you can then leverage on its local presence across all those borders as a trader and really be able to be in a place where you do not have to have, well, exchanges of cash. You don't have to have to hire local knowledge because your bank already provides that for you. Now, at the financial technology level, the recent introduction of an application is actually doing that at that level. Talk to us about that.
That's right. Well, I think the thing is Ecobank has always had a pan-African strategy. We are in 33 markets, and that means effectively if you open a bank account in one, you have one in 32 other markets as well. Over the years, we built Africa Rapid Transfer, which allows instant payments between Ecobank accounts. And the new app you're talking about effectively lies on top of that. So here in Kenya, you can download the app and you can basically open a very basic account there just using your mobile phone. But if you open a proper bank account, you can then make an instant payment anywhere in Africa. The idea is a single digital network for the payments. But I think as we were discussing when we were off air, cash is still very important to the economy here in Kenya, across the whole world. So we have multiple points where you can put the cash in and cash out. We just hope, like a lot of other banks, you'll start using digital more and more for all of your payments.
With the recent ratification of the Pan-African strategy for business, where we're talking about an Africa-wide free trade area, do you think this will enable the traders and consumers then be able to try and achieve that in a much better and cohesive fashion?
Absolutely. I think the CFTA is definitely a statement of intent. It's ambitious. It's going to be very difficult to implement. But this idea about what it could achieve, if you have a single market, what that means is you legalize millions and million tons of informal flows that currently occur. You know, we probably think that the official status data says that 12% of all trade is intra-regional. It's probably more like 40%, could be 50%. All of these flows will be legal again within a single market. And that means we can see that banks will soon be able to start properly banking them, and they'll be able to come more into the formal sector.
Let's talk about the fact that a lot of African currencies are literally very liquid. A lot of them are tightly controlled in terms of how they exchange versus other currencies. And having electronic payments literally takes the risk, so to say, out of playing in those markets. Do you think this is a benefit that can start to accrue to business people, especially who might not want to go lock, stock and barrel into some African markets?
Absolutely, because I think that this issue of cash, particularly if you're an SME, if you have to pay for certain things, every year all across Africa in the agricultural sector, millions and millions of dollars are sent out into the field in cash, and a lot of it gets stolen or embezzled. So the idea you can control that digitally. But of course, to do that, people have to have a signal. So you have to think about how you can actually give a signal if you're in remote areas where the signal's not very good. Digital money is no use if you can't get your phone working. But I certainly think also digital lets you get beyond the need for dollars. It's always a huge problem here in Africa. If you have to get dollars, if you're an SME, it's costly, it's difficult. And if you want to send them, there's a lot of controls over it. But there's a number of companies, we're looking at one called Binkabi at the moment.
Yes.
They use the blockchain to settle the payments, and you can pay in local currency at both ends. So an ability to get away from dollars is another digital way of getting across these barriers.
Yes. Let's talk about the fact that for a lot of Africans, financial access means that you have to be literally in places where it's either inconvenient, you talk long distances, you speak about issues of power and that sort of thing. Do you think what you're going to be doing tomorrow is going to start to address some of that, especially seeing as innovations like, so to say, M-Pesa and what banks are bringing about themselves is helping so many Africans get into the financial sector?
Absolutely. And I think what's really exciting is the way that all the technologies come together.
Yes.
The big talk at the moment is a lot about blockchain. Some people talk about artificial intelligence. But ultimately, these are all cloud technologies. They sit up in computers elsewhere in the world. If you want to access them, all you need is a computer or a device and an internet connection. That's it. And so the power to bring all these things together, to use machine learning, to understand better and better the systems that you have there, I think everyone's going to benefit from that one.
Let's talk about SMEs and the fact that a lot of financial institutions have begun to swivel to be able to address the needs of such clients. With the advent of the digital cable that we were talking about earlier on a different story, we have literally put small, indeed micro African businesses at a global level. We have seen African traders on Airbnb selling their space to people who fly in from places such as diverse as London and Moscow. What exactly has Ecobank been able to do in this space in terms of holding the hands of these people so that they start to then understand these spaces, be able to handle their money in a way which benefits them and ultimately cuts down their costs and improves efficiency?
Well, it's all about connecting up to our digital platform, because on one SME level, if you want to be doing payments, for example, let's say for airline tickets, if you have a QR code which you can create on your phone very easily, you can immediately start doing payments back and forth.
Yes.
But also for international business, people wanting to do international payments, we have a platform as well in Paris where we handle a lot of our international trade finance and treasury.
Yes.
So for any of our clients, they have access to 25 currencies all at once. But I think the key thing here is if you're going to have any digital network at all, and all of the banks are trying to do this, you want to have multiple ways that you can plug into it, and then you can decide which digital services you want.
My final question, the fact that with the conference coming up tomorrow, of course, you will be able to reach out to various different people. The fact that we have seen Africa start to move away from physical branches for banks, even with a presence in the 33 different markets. Millennials and the younger class of people who keep coming into these markets, do you think as an institution you're being able to speak to those people in their own language on platforms that they can both understand and like? Well,
that's certainly our hope, and that's certainly the aim of the app, the latest version that we've launched. Ecobank is aiming to onboard 100 million clients. We currently have about 4.5 million downloads on the app, and we hope to increase that to about 1 million a month over the coming year. So essentially, it's definitely aimed at the millennials, and certainly people who want a bit more flexibility with what they can do, but also understanding that ultimately people want to go digital these days. They want to have low-cost or free services, and we're heading towards that with our digital platform.
Indeed, thank you very much, sir, for your time. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, asante sana. Now, a section of residents in Momdai village in Mombasa County are calling for help as their houses near a valley that has shown cracks as rains pound the region. They said the rains have washed away a footbridge in the area and that schools-going children have been most affected as the bridge connected homes and learning institutions. They fear their houses may also collapse and are calling on Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho to honor his promise of building them new houses.
Kwa hakika kabisa leo tuko hapa kwa sababu tuko na huzuni nyingi kwa sababu ya kijiji chetu cha Mwamlai vile kilivyo. Tumekuwa na hii shida kwa muda mrefu zaidi ya miaka 20 sasa kuhusiana hili bonde ambalo kwa kweli kabisa kufikia sasa baada ya mvua kuzidi tunaona kwamba kijiji kimegawanywa mara mbili, kiasi cha kwamba ni vigumu kabisa mtoto kutoka chini kupanda juu ama mama mzee kutoka chini kupanda juu. Vile vile kuna hatari ambayo inaonekana wazi katika sehemu hii, kwa sababu tayari tumeona baadhi ya manyumba yameanza kuonyesha ishara za kuporomoka, miti imeporomoka. Hii ina maana kwamba kwa muda mfupi unaokuja, kama kutakuwa na mvua leo ama kesho, basi tunatarajia janga kubwa sana kwa hiki kijiji. Tunawauliza viongozi na serikali kuu kwamba wakati umefika ambapo wananchi wako na shida, hasa katika mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani, na iomba jamii yote ya Waislamu wahisani wote wahakikisha kwamba tunaweza kuungana kusaidia hii jamii ya Mwamlai.
Sisi kama wazazi hatuna raha na hatulali, maana ni lazima asubuhi tufike hapa, tuvushe watoto kwenda mashule na baadaye tuje hapa tena tuchukue watoto kurudisha manyumbani, jambo ambalo limekuwa jambo la hatari. Hakuna raha, na kama ni viongozi nafikiri washaona kila kitu. Wa viongozi wa kila aina washafika hapa. Mheshimiwa Gavana alikuwa hapa, na MCA, watu wa kila aina washafika hapa kuangalia, lakini mpaka sasa bado hatujapata utatuzi wote. Kwa hivyo tunaomba ikiwa serikali itaingilia jambo kama hili, serikali kuu pamoja na viongozi wengine ama wahisani waje waangalie shughuli kama hii, watusaidie, maana ikiwa mvua itaendelea kunyesha nafikiri sisi hapa tutaangamia.
That's Ashley. Well, from that story, we now go to, well, our next interview segment. Of course, this time we want to talk about the issue of human resources and indeed about an upcoming conference that is set to continue to take stock of the, well, developments in that sector. Now, Dorcas Wainaina is executive, I hasten to say the first woman to hold that position in 30 years of IHRM's existence. Now, the Institute has embarked on a thorough compliance audit aimed at flashing out unqualified persons carrying out HR functions in line with the HRMP Act. She's here to talk about the 5th annual conference that will soon be underway. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Peter.
Indeed, quite an accolade, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, talking about human resource, this is a field which for most people, most organizations, especially in the past, had not really considered mainstream, had considered as support. But today we are seeing a situation where we're saying that if you're not mainstreaming human resource, then you're failing your employees. Talk to us about what you'd consider where this field is today.
Thank you, Peter. Indeed, it's very important to note that, as you mentioned, that Kenya has made a lot of progress towards professionalizing HR in this country. And therefore, we got the Human Resource Management Professionals Act in 2012. And then we started the implementation about 2014, because then you're given a transitional period. To professionalize human resources as a function is to say employers should no longer say that it's a support function. Of course, we support the business in every way possible. But that was never used in a way to say that human resource management as a function is a profession that has its own technicalities.
In fact, we're starting to see this at the board level because you're mainstream, so you now have a seat at the table.
Exactly, that there is need for that seat at the table if everybody is talking about TBL, triple bottom line, people, profit, people, planet, and profit. And therefore, if it's people first, that means it's important that they recognize that when you have a HR specialist within your organization, consider them as a professional, like any other that you would think about. Sometimes it's a discussion that happens that, you know, technical areas, engineering, medical, architects, etc. Human resources is much more technical than any of this. I'll tell you why. Because while everybody else is dealing with tools and perhaps roads and perhaps designing, we are dealing with human beings
and
who change every day, and their families that come along with that, and every other baggage that comes into the workplace. And therefore, it's important to also understand that these HR professionals indeed have a training. And there's a body of knowledge that is HR in itself.
When you set about when the Institute set about trying to institute what the Act has said, there was a bit of resistance and indeed a lot of opposition on the ground. And the fact that it's taken time for people to start to accept that regulation is needed for the sector, and indeed that there was a large number of quacks and qualified people, personnel who were playing these roles. Where exactly are we?
Thank you, Peter. First of all, any change would attract resistance anyhow, and depending on what interests people have. Of course, if you have individuals that are running corporations and their head of HR perhaps rose from being a receptionist and they've not got any schooling with the board of knowledge to understand what it means to manage human beings in a workplace, of course, then you would have resistance out of just sheer ignorance of not understanding what this is about. But today is different. We have lobbied, we have advocated, we have had collaborations with several bodies as well to help them understand what it is that is our agenda. Our agenda is to streamline this profession. And by streamlining this, consequently, any HR professional within that workplace must put in place practices that support a human being.
Yes.
So that we have a humanized workplace, and that might take me to the annual Congress we are having in Mombasa.
Yes.
And the theme that we are saying is humanizing the workplace so that we can achieve Vision 2030. So today it is different. We are better understood as to what we are looking for. We are not policing anybody. We are not out to arrest anybody. We are saying if we all reason together and rationalize why we must professionalize this HR profession, we will know that it's for our own good. Indeed, Peter, some of the litigation issues in the labor court shouldn't even exist.
Yes.
We appreciate that this profession has got advisory to give to leadership in organizations so that they make the right decisions.
Or even become the leadership itself.
Or even become the leadership itself. And indeed,
yes,
in February, we held a boot camp where we are saying that HR should rise and move to CEO
yes,
level because it's about people. It's
yes,
not about money. It's about how do you drive people and inspire them to manage for organizations.
Indeed, one of the organizations that I have seen literally move its culture in a very big way, and so to say, is Kenya Power. Its former CEO, immediate former, was an HR professional and a person who understood where the organization has come from and where it's going. Now, let's talk a bit about the conference and the fact that you have on the roster a huge number of people eminently qualified, ready to speak out, including one Julius Kipngetich, who is our independent director.
Right.
And literally talking about bread and butter issues that many companies are struggling with today, and that they shouldn't have to struggle because there is this entire body of knowledge that is resting with the institute.
Right.
So how do we tap in?
The Congress, the annual Congress,
yes,
then we have a conference that happens in October.
Yes.
The Congress this year is themed, humanize the workplace,
yes,
to achieve productivity and then achieve Vision 2030.
Yes.
I mean, Vision 2030 was all about increasing prosperity of Kenyans,
yes,
through infrastructure, through healthcare. There's also tourism, agriculture as well, financial services. Then you link that to the big four that the president launched not long ago of universal healthcare, affordable housing. We are talking about manufacturing. We are talking about food security.
Yes.
There are people in those sectors,
yes,
and it's about people. And therefore, if you want a universal healthcare, then ensure that the people working in that sector are taken care of, and that you're providing an environment that is humanized, that is civilized, that is humane. No conditions of work. Why would doctors and nurses go on strike because of gloves? And indeed, rightly so. And by the way, that's what really happened. One among the small things that led to the unrest was lack of, basic conditions of work that are not, convenient for them to do their work. If it's about agriculture, it's about influencing even the younger generations to see agriculture as part of employment where they can go to. And therefore, we are saying, how can we then in HR influence workplaces to become more humanized? Because we are trained to provide guidance on what a humanized workplace should look like. I can give an example. We have one corporation in this country where actually the MD walks in and doesn't greet the employees at all.
Wow.
And by the fact that they share that, it means that they've thought about it. Why is this person not saying hi to me? That's not a humanized workplace. Please start saying hi to your employees, and they would work very hard to make sure that you're successful. And by the way, one of the funny things I would say about that is that, if CEOs knew that sometimes employees don't wash off their hand because they shook it on that day, and they are that happy that you shook their hand, because they say, hey, I've got to work so hard so I don't fail my CEO. We humanize the workplace. It does not take big things. It takes small things. It takes small things like not arguing about a breastfeeding bill, but providing a space small enough for a mother to express milk while at the workplace. A small fridge, about 10 to 15,000 shillings for a mother to keep that milk and take it home to the child. And therefore, their productivity become better because they've been provided for facilities that make it easier for them as human beings to operate.
Yeah, so finally, we are out of time. In 30 seconds, location of the conference, when is it running from? What can we hope to see out of it?
We would like to invite every other Kenyan, not necessarily HR professionals alone, to this Congress that is going to be at White Sands Sarovar in Mombasa, and it's running from 23rd to 25th. We have indeed great speakers that are well versed with the Vision 2030 as well, like Professor Wainaina Gituro, Dr. Kipingetich, very well versed on matters to do with soft power. And so people would come to learn about soft power. People will come to learn about the employee of the future, about fluid talent. People will come to learn about other organizations that have indeed made it in humanizing the workplace. And we have that case study coming up at the Congress.
Well, indeed, quite a lot to look forward to. We, of course, will be part and parcel of that event. Indeed. We hope to be able to indeed even cover it live, some of those sessions.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. That, of course, being Dorcas Wainaina, Executive Director, first ever Executive Director female at the Institute of Human Resource Management. Asante sana.
Thank you for hosting IHRM today.
Well, indeed, on that note, we are at the end of our show for today. Of course, we will be back at the same time tomorrow with much more exciting content from the world of business. At the same time tomorrow at 3 p.m. Coming up in just a few minutes, Mbiu ya KTN, the news in Swahili. But from us here, it is Kwaheri ya kuonana. See you again tomorrow. Thank you very much.